Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm coming at you with two more prospects once again as we continue to do homework on these players that are expected to enter the draft. One of these guys is actually entering his name in the portal as well. So if he doesn't like what he see in terms of his draft stuff, he may just go on to a different school. So we'll talk about both of these players. One of them being Christian Anderson, point guard, 6'3", 178, out of Texas Tech. And the other being Allen Graves, power forward out of Santa Clara, 6'9", 225, although he may be a little heavier than that. And with Christian Anderson, once again, this was me not doing as much homework as I would have liked to have done. I didn't see as many highlights of him as I've seen of other players, but I did listen to as much commentary about him as I did most of the players I've done homework on. And the one thing I can say about Christian Anderson for certain is that he can shoot the ball. He can shoot. He is a very, very nice point guard shooter, a little undersized, unfortunately, at 6'3". But he has a lot of playmaking chops from what I understand. He's originally from Germany, so a lot of people are comparing him to Dennis Schroeder on a couple of fronts. He's pretty fast, good first step from what I understand. Defensively, I'm a little in the dark. I'm not really sure. He does average 1.5 steals, 18 points a game, 3 turnovers, 7 assists. 80% from the free throw line, 41% from three, 47% from the field for 38 minutes a game. So this is a nice point guard, a little undersized, but as I reflect on what they said defensively, he's actually pretty good defensively. He has a lot of good energy on the defensive side. He has a lot of attentiveness, and so it makes up for his overall size deficiency. You may try to hunt him out, he may get the stop type of thing. So you feel confident that he could hold up, and when it's time for him to go up against smaller guards, he will do well defensively. So that's really what it is. You don't want to overstate the size disadvantage conversation, because there are small guards out there that a lot of the big guards are too slow to guard. You need small guards on your team who can guard small guards, because there are several of them in the league that you have to deal with. So that isn't something I hear much about in regards to team building, but I think it's always wise to have a good small guard on every roster who can defend. A TJ McConnell type player, someone like a Davion Mitchell. I just think that when you're talking about the grand scheme of trying to build an NBA team, that's often something that people don't necessarily mention, but I often find is very necessary. If you don't have a bigger guy who's fast enough of a foot to guard the smaller guys, you're going to have trouble with some of these smaller guys. The Trae Youngs and people like that exist. Jalen Brunson, they exist. So if all of your guards are 6'7", and you love the big guards, once you start going up against some of them little dudes, they're going to cook you. They're going to cook you if you're not quick enough. If you're not able to defend them, you're going to have a hard time, especially the higher talented ones. So I think Christian Anderson could potentially be a guy who can help you on both sides of the floor, a two-way guy who's an elite shooter from behind the arc, a fantastic connector of the basketball, shoots well from the line, tends to get to the line. He drives well, has an interior game, 3-level basically. And then on the defensive side, you feel comfortable that he can hold up his own on against smaller guards. So I like Christian Anderson to outplay his draft range to a degree, as I could consider team building and how important his piece could potentially be for certain units. When you're talking about going up against guys like Jamal Murray, he could probably kind of go toe-to-toe with a guy like that on his best night. And so I like Christian Anderson. I think he's an important piece. I think it's an underrated understanding that you need a piece like this on every team. And I think any team that gets Christian Anderson is going to probably be very pleased that they have him. You can't have him in all situations because he is a little size deficient. But since he's such an elite shooter, since he is such a good connective piece that's going to make others better, and since he does tend to be successful defensively in certain situations, it's not a whole lot not to like about this player. He's pretty fast. He has good interior scoring ability. He can teardrop, stuff like that, gets in the line. Not really explosive, but he can dunk, you know what I mean? It's not like he's just all layups, but majority of his play is layups. I like the player, man. I have a lot more to learn about him. I'm not saying he's a high enough level to say Trae Young or any of those guys, but at the end of the day, you just want somebody that can stay in front of those people when they get going, and then who could put pressure on them on the other side and maybe cook them himself. And on a good night, just like a Dennis Schroeder, he can cook somebody. He can really cook, man. And so Christian Anderson should be valued somewhere in the 20 range, in my opinion. There are other players in this range that I like a little more based on preference of style or what it is that I like. But if I need this piece, this is a good one to get in this range. You know what I mean? So I would say don't underestimate the need to have a small guard. And if you find that you don't have a small guard, Christian Anderson is a good one to pick up. So that's what I've taken from Christian Anderson. Without seeing as much from him as I've seen some of the other players, but in listening to other people talk about him, the only real concern people have been able to consistently say is that he's a bit undersized, he's a smaller guard. But defensively, he's pretty decent. He's not really a rebounder because he's smaller, so you're going to live without that. But if you have other rebounders around him and you need elite three-point shooting, he's fantastic three-point shooter. And like I said, his assist game is strong. Like, he's going to make plays for others. His passing stuff was good. And, just a nice small guard, man. A very nice six-man type ceiling, in my opinion. I don't know that he ever starts for any team. But I think he could have a Dennis Schroeder-like career, maybe be a little better than Dennis, to be honest with you, in some ways. So I like Chris Anderson, man. This dude is an elite shooter. That's the difference between him and Dennis. Dennis going to get to the line a little better. Dennis is probably a little better defensively. Dennis probably has a stronger build, but Christian's a significantly better three-point shooter, significantly better. And the high arc, shooting stuff that he has, just spectacular. The range is spectacular. So I feel confident that if you need a guard, and you could use if you have the ability to bring in a smaller guard without it being a problem for your roster, he's going to be a real solution to a lot of problems when it comes to spacing the floor, connective pieces and stuff like that. He's going to make plays for others. He's going to do good things on the offensive end that is going to make it so that you're very happy he's on your squad. So I have him in that same conversation as Bennett Sturts. They're kind of in the same range, so you pick one. I think it's maybe a toss-up depending on what you need. They're both kind of good at the same stuff. So yeah, that's Christian Anderson, Bennett Sturts, kind of in that same range for me. If I need a small guard, I'm gonna try to position myself in this draft to get one of those two guys without any hesitation. I think you'll be happy you did. So that's what I want to say about Christian Anderson out of Texas Tech, the German dual citizen, fast-footed three-point shooter, nice passer, a former point guard, pure point guard, going to play the point guard position only. You're not going to be able to get him to play no two, not comfortably anyway. But he's so good in his catch and shoot stuff. I think his three-point shooting as well, off the dribble or catch and shoot. He really is good in both on and off the ball, so that makes him even more valuable. If you got a guy like, let's see. Brown. Jaylen Brown is who I was trying to say. If you got a guy like Jaylen Brown who handles the ball, Jason Tatum, stuff like that, he can come in and be a Peyton Pritchard. That's kind of what you want him to be. He may be a little better defensively than Peyton Pritchard, maybe not as talented as Peyton Pritchard. I think Peyton Pritchard probably has a higher ceiling. Peyton Pritchard's a smaller person, I think. Christian Anderson, I think, is probably comparable to him in that way. But stretching the floor, can play off ball, catch and shoot. If you put the ball in his hands, he can make them better as well. So yeah, that's what Christian Anderson is, kind of in that Peyton Pritchard, Dennis Schroeder type range for me. That's kind of what I have a vision for him being, something like that. So yeah, high on Christian Anderson. High on him. I like him. I like what I saw. There's more to see for me, but the little that I saw, I respect that he's going to be a nice player in the NBA. And Allen Graves, 6'9", 225 out of Santa Clara. I'm an Allen Graves guy. I did homework on him this morning. I'm fresh off homework. In fact, that's what I was doing over the last several hours, basically prior to taking my shower. I was working out and listening to Allen Graves commentary. I sat in bed this morning before really getting up, and I watched 25 minutes of his highlights. I really like what I saw from Allen Graves. I'm not confused, though. The thing about Allen Graves is he's not very athletic, but for his size, he really is comparable to some of the players in the league that have been able to help you on both sides of the floor at 6'8". Who do I see when I'm thinking about Allen Graves? There's a couple players that come to mind. The first player that came to mind as a Laker fan was Rick Fox. That's who came to mind. He's a good three-point shooter. He's a slow release. That's what he has. He has a slow release, I guess. But it looked on par. It looked really nice. It's definitely something you could work with. He shoots it at a high level. And he looks like a really sturdy three-point shooter, especially from straight away or probably from the corner as well. That's kind of where I got, the size is for Rick Fox. His ball handling stuff is not all that great, so that also made me consider Rick Fox. Rick Fox was not a great ball handler. Defensively, this dude is really good in certain situations, particularly jumping passing lanes, stuff like that. His on-ball stuff is iffy, but more so on the positive side than the negative side, from what I understand. Some people tell you he's a good defender. Some people say he has a lot of work to do, but the eye test tells you that he can steal the ball, puts himself in the right place at the right time, and that is considered a skill as well. So I like the active hands. He has good length as well. Not explosive, but can dunk the ball at 6'8". He's not deficient there. But he's under athletic. So another name that comes to mind immediately is like a Grant Williams. Grant Williams, who could stretch the floor, although that wasn't who you drafted him to be. In fact, they are more alike in some ways than maybe I considered, because when I did homework on Grant Williams several years ago, Grant Williams kind of played with his back to the basket a good portion of the time. And I said that wouldn't necessarily translate, and he had to kind of get away from some of that, and for which he's developed his way around. But Allen Graves tends to play with his back to the basket as well to make up for some of the athletic deficiencies. You're not going to see him break anybody off the dribble, that kind of thing, in triple threat. He's going to try to turn his back to you, and then from there get into what it is he can do. So that may be a little tricky for him. His development is going to, have to be with a lot of ball handling drills and stuff like that. I would love to see him work with a guy like Phil Handy, kind of work some things into his equation so that his ball handling can allow for him to play more face-up basketball. I think it's going to be extremely important for him. I just love what I saw overall. This is a really talented player. His bounce passes were fantastic. Listening to the experts, they weren't as high on his playmaking as maybe I am. The eye test tells me he's going to be a nice playmaker. He can make all types of passes, sound passes. Playing for Santa Clara, he wasn't exactly playing with elite talent, but if you put him on the floor with a Jokic, with a Jason Tatum, with a Luka Doncic, he's going to be both a nice target to score with and a nice playmaker to get them the ball. Allen Graves, fantastic physically with his frame. He is a physical basketball player. He doesn't mind contact. He draws contact. He tends to foul too much at times, though. From what I understand, he picks up inexplicable fouls that make you scratch your head and frustrate you. So that's something he's going to have to work with. But he's one of only 3 players that have a certain stat. One of them being my very own player, Chris Mannion, who's trying to wake his way up through the Laker G League process. And the other being dude off the Portland Trail Blazers. What is his name? It's not coming to mind right now. Elite defensive player, used to play for the Philadelphia 76ers. I just saw his name very recently. It's not coming to mind right now. But they both have a certain stat to where they get 5 steals, 5 blocks per certain minutes or something like that. I don't know what the stat is, but it's extremely elite between those 3 players. They're the only ones who have it. So I thought that was something that eye-opening to say, first of all, my Lakers need to call Chris Mannion up next year and utilize this guy because he's got some terrific defensive chops that we haven't even explored, as I've been saying all season. And with this guy, he has some of that same stuff. So that is something to take into account with Allen Graves. Just a fantastic overall role player is what I see him becoming. Who else does he remind me of? Undersized, athletic. I saw a guy that came to mind, old school guy from the Philadelphia 76ers. God, what was his name? But he reminded me of this player, Derek Coleman in a way, a smaller version of Derek Coleman. I saw some deep Derek Coleman in him because of the big body frame, the jump shooting ability, just how he worked around the post, jump hooks, repeated offensive rebounding chops. This is a fantastic offensive rebounder, a try-hard guy underneath the offensive rim, going to keep jumping until he gets it, has a great hand for the ball, fantastic hand-eye coordination, that type of thing. The thing that concerns a lot of people about Allen Graves is the little footage of him, because a lot of people didn't watch a whole lot of Santa Clara, but also because he didn't start for Santa Clara. So one of the things that people are concerned with is that he was doing a lot of his damage against second units. So if you're going to consider Allen Graves, you may want to think about the fact that he didn't get as many minutes as you would want him to get. I think in the final game of the season, it was said that he only had like 18 minutes in that game. And when he was on the floor, there were times where he wasn't on the floor playing against the best talent. So how much of that is an asterisk to him to say, is he cooking like this for real, or is he cooking like this against second units? And if so, when he gets to the pros, will it translate? I think the important thing is working on his handle, working on his conditioning, and him continuing to shoot the three-point shot as well as he had been shooting it. Because if you remove his three-point shooting stuff and he shoots poorly, let's say he shoots 20-something from behind the arc, suddenly it becomes a situation where his athleticism deficiencies become a real problem for that power forward position. But he still has excellent touch around the rim. He still has offensive rebounding ability. He still has good passing stuff. And he's still going to be someone who's going to be tough on the defensive end, especially against not so athletic forwards. There were some other names that came to mind too that I thought of when looking at this guy. My brain does not access names very well. That's my problem. Georges Niang came to mind only because of the body build. Georges Niang is known for not being a very athletic person, kind of out of shape looking, but can stretch the floor like crazy, can tend to comes up with stops and stuff where you don't think he otherwise would. Now, I do think that Graves is in much better shape than Georges Niang. He's more athletic than Georges Niang. He's got a higher ceiling. He's a better player than Georges Niang. But that's who I thought of when watching him run. It's like, yo, this is kind of a guy who, if he doesn't take care of his conditioning, he could still produce, but he's probably going to be like Georges Niang in that regard if he don't take care of himself. Conditioning is going to be very important for this guy, in my opinion. Strength building, just overall taking care of himself. You can get the most out of yourself if you turn into a gym rat if you're this guy. I've seen guys who are not overly athletic, but they're crazy about their conditioning. I think of a guy like Derek Fisher, who was not overly athletic, but just kept his body in complete shape all career long and was able to be a starter on 5 NBA championship teams, several Western Conference championship situations as well. With the Utah Jazz, he had one. So, like, it's all about conditioning for guys who are under athletic. It's all about how much do you love doing the work. And if you really take care of yourself, you can have a very long, successful career. And that's what I think of Allen Graves. I'm a believer, man. I'm an absolute believer. With this balance to say that I'm taking into account all of the different things that are being said. The fact that he was playing against two, second units in some cases. The athleticism deficiency. The ball handling stuff, the fouling stuff, all the stuff that's been said about him that ain't so positive, I'm keeping in my mind. But he passes the eye test, and I'm one of those people that love to keep it simple. Guy has great arm length, 6'8", great body for the NBA. He has a good floor game, and I'm watching unathletic people have Hall of Fame careers. My Laker team has the best unathletic player maybe of all time in Luka Doncic, killing it. So I'm a believer that if you're a good basketball player, it's going to translate. There are a lot of athletes out there who are just going to get cooked by a guy like this because he's physical, he's going to draw fouls, he's going to play defense, he's going to hit shots, he's going to have good touch around the rim, he's going to try hard on the rebounding, both sides. And he's just going to be a hassle to deal with, man. And if he continues to work on his floor game, I have no reason to believe that what he does doesn't translate to the NBA. But he's going to have to get his shot off quicker because guys like Wemby and Jones from New Orleans, people like that, Obviously, DeBonsta, who's coming in now, those people they're gonna give him hell. You know what I mean? With their ability to leap and block 3-point shots. Quaintance, who's also in this draft, people like that are gonna give this guy hell. So that's something I understand. His athleticism deficiencies are going to keep him from being a starter in my mind, but he's going to be a tremendous six-man candidate, tremendous player off of your bench that can play both sides of the floor, stretch the floor very well, make others better, score repeatedly. He's going to be really, really nice, man. Triple-double threat in the future. I believe he can be a triple-double threat in the future because of the passing ability, especially if he's playing with a lot of good, talented offensive scorers and has enough defensive athleticism around him. He's going to be tremendous. And the one thing that I can also say about Allen Graves, and I think this kind of goes without saying, listen to what I say about him, is that he pretty much fits in all situations. There's not a team that you can't put him on because of his size, because of his different strengths. He fits everywhere. But what I will say is, because of his athleticism deficiencies, I would prefer him be on a team that has plenty of athleticism already on it. I don't think that you want to add him to a situation where everybody on your team is under athletic. And that's why him as a Laker is a little, I have just slight hesitation about taking him as a Laker, only because what I've accused my Lakers of being bad at is understanding who they are versus what it is they should be bringing to what they have. Now, you can always switch things around, so if you have a vision for doing so and the ability to do so, then you can very well do this. But what we tend to do is say, oh, we like this player, not taking into account what situation we're bringing them to, and then they don't end up becoming who they need to be because that's not the right piece for what we already are existing as. So that's what I would say. I like this player. I wouldn't hesitate to draft him. But if I'm bringing him to a situation with Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, we're already in a space where we have some of our main guys are not very athletic. We probably need more quick twitch type stuff at that position, that forward spot. You need that quick twitch, especially if you're going to lose Bron. If you're going to lose Bron and you bring in this player, now you're significantly under athletic as a unit. And so that's what concerns me. I think the Lakers would be happy to have a player like Allen Graves. I'm an Allen Graves guy. So if we draft Allen Graves, I'm happy to have him. But I think Allen Graves would probably be better having a Thompson twin on his squad, or playing with somebody like Anthony Edwards, or having athletes around him who are going to be able to do a lot of the quick twitch stuff. Because if he's down there with a bunch of unathletic people, they're going to be games that he's going to play great in, and then they're going to be games where you're going to get blown out and ran past, and that is just not something you sign up for. So know who you are before you bring Allen Graves in. Yes, he fits in all situations, but you do not want to bring him to an already not athletic situation. Your team is going to be very unathletic if you do something like that. So that's what I want to say. I'm a fan, though. I'm an absolute fan. I think he fits in a lot of these teams that he's projected to go to in this 20 range. He got a bunch of teams that fit. Detroit would be great because obviously they got a Thompson twin and they need spacing at all times, and they're a contending team that's ready to compete. And I think he has the stuff that can help you already. There's some things that are deficient about him, but he has stuff that very easily, just keeping it simple, he's going to be able to get buckets, he's going to be able to get steals, he's going to be able to get offensive rebounds, and he's going to make people better. I know that. So Detroit, Atlanta, 76ers, Knicks, Lakers, Denver, Boston, all of these teams are good for Allen Graves, all of them. Minnesota, Cleveland, all of these teams that he's projected to go to are teams he'd probably be best for going to. San Antonio, Toronto, they got enough of that. But like the majority of these teams in his range, he should be fine going to any of these squads. So that's really what comes to mind, man. Second half of the first round, he's one of my favorite players in this range, man. Maybe my favorite player in this range thus far, although we have plenty of homework to do on other players that'll make this range a bit more full for me. But I will say that I am most definitely a Allen Graves guy. I'm a believer in what I see. The stats pop off the screen like crazy. You're gonna see nothing but green everywhere. He's such a good touch shooter in pretty much everywhere, and the energy is good. The defensive stuff passes the eye test. I think you got somebody who's going to very easily come in and be a high-level unathletic four. High-level backup for certain. I don't necessarily want him starting on a great team, but if he goes to an OKC or something like that, my God, they just become significantly more difficult to compete against. And so that's really what it is. He goes to a good team, and he's going to be able to help them early, but you're going to have to develop him in some key areas as well to get the most out of him. And that's what I think. I think at the end of the day, the stuff that he does, although he may have been doing it against second units, I think he can probably do it against good guys too, good talent too. And one thing I noticed about Allen Graves is that he shot well with hands in his face. A lot of the shots that he was making were highly contested shots. So that's something to think about as well. Albeit against plumbers and whatever, but it's just something I noticed. So yeah, man, I like Allen Graves a lot, man. You can add him to the list of players that I like more so than maybe others. You know, everybody has their people. I have a lot in this draft, more in this draft than I had in the previous several drafts. This is just a very good draft, man, where you can legitimately say that I have like 7 players that I just love in this draft, not including the top 4 superstar players. Yeah, this is a very good draft. And so that's what I want to say. And I'll mention all these players that I'm a big fan of. Obviously, the top 4, AJ, Darren, Boozer, and Wilson are by themselves for me. But Wagler, Brown, Lindeberg, Mullins, Howell, Sinak, Graves. Those are my guys, man. Those are my guys. Those are the people that I like the most in this draft. And then there are other people in this draft that I like a lot, like Steinbach. I'm a fan of, but I wouldn't say I'm a Steinbach guy, but I believe in what he does. Braden Burries has some stuff I like. Flemings, I think, has a super ceiling. Kareem Lopez, I bought in. Patrick Gongba, I'm a believer in what he can do. Like I said, Bennett Sturts, I think is going to be fine. Christian Anderson's going to be fine. Koa Pete was promising, although I did very little homework on him, so I'm just kind of out of the loop. But what I saw looked strong. I like what I saw. So it's like, this is most of the draft, yo. This is most of the draft. And so that's what I want to say. I think this is going to be a really good draft. And then there are other guys who you'll listen to who will mention other names that they're extremely high on. So if you put my opinion, their opinion together, you have an even more of appreciation for this draft. You got people who are, A-Cuff guys. You got people who are Phylon guys. Like, I'm not really big on those players like that. Acquaintance guys. Like, they're not my cup of tea. But if you listen to others, they believe. So it's like, that'll tell you what type of draft you're dealing with. This is one of the best drafts we've seen maybe ever. Literally. Maybe ever. So that's what I want to say, man. If you have a first-round pick in this draft, all the way to 23 at this point, I can tell you're going to love what you have, because these are a bunch of kids that I think are legitimately going to stick. I really do. I think everybody that I've done homework on, I think can stick. There are a few who are more reliant upon circumstances to work out, but if each of these players that I've done homework on gets into the right situation, they can be in the NBA for a couple of years at the very least. So, yeah, this is a very deep draft, and it's top-heavy as well. Maybe one of the best drafts in the history of the NBA. So that's what I want to say. I'm an Allen Graves guy, and I really like Christian Anderson as well. 2 prospects that I think people are going to be happy to have. BDL44, thank you all for watching.